Alright, example 9, another crazy one here. Can't factor the bottom, but I know there's nothing I can plug in there, but I know if I plug in a -1 here, I'll get 0 on the bottom. So I know it cannot be a -1 on the bottom. We test out all the factors, so that's what I'm doing here. All the factors. So there's no need to worry about, let's see here, we get, when we flip the sign, we get x is greater than 3, and we know that x cannot equal -1. So we know that x has to be less than -2. So anything less than -2 works except for -1. And x is greater than 3. So here's all the little things that we have. It goes till it gets to -2, but it includes -2. Then we go until we get to -1, but it can't touch -1. Then it goes from -1 to +3, but we know it touches 3 because it actually equals 3. Then from 3 to infinity. And all the factors are an x plus 2 with 3 minus x and x plus 1. And this doesn't matter because anything you plug in will always be positive, so it's not going to change your answer anyway, so we don't need to worry about it. So I plug in my little checklist. So whatever I plugged in there will make it negative. And whatever I plug in there will make it positive. And whatever I plug in there will make it positive. And whatever I plug in there will make it positive. Whatever I plug in there will make it positive. That'll make that positive. It'll make this positive. And it will make this negative. Whatever I plug in here will make that negative, that positive, and that positive. So 2 negatives makes a positive. 1 negative makes a negative. It's positive, that's negative. So I want to know, where is it negative? Where is it less than 0? So right here and right here is where it's less than 0. So in between -2 and -1. So where is it less than 0, -2, -1, and 3, and infinity. Okay, so for a drug to have a beneficial effect, its concentration in the bloodstream must exceed a certain value, which is called the minimum therapeutic level. Suppose that the concentration of a particular drug after it is taken orally is given by this. If the minimum therapeutic level is 4, determine when this level is exceeded. So I know the minimum level is 4. That means it has to be greater than 4. So I know that it can be anything on the bottom. Anything on the bottom will work because there's nothing that will make that 0 because it's always going to be positive. So I move that over and I find a common denominator. So that means I multiply both the top and the bottom by t squared plus 4. So I distribute that through. -4 times t squared, that's -4t squared, and a -16. So I have a quadratic on the top that I need to factor, so I'm going to take out a -4 from everything. And when I take out the -4, can I think of two numbers that multiply to give you -4 that add to give, or sorry, multiply to give you 4 that add to give you -5? Yep, -1 and -4. So now I have that factored, so I know what will work. When we solve this, a 4 and a 1 will work. So I know 4 and a 1 will work. So remember when we switch the sign, because we multiply by a negative.
Let's hang 10 for
So when we're doing this, we know that it is 1 and 4, and it can't touch them because it was less than. And those are the only factors that I have. So when I plug in numbers, like 0, that's a negative, and 0 will be a negative there. If I plug in 2, that'll be positive. 2, that'll be negative. If I plugged in like a 5, that'll be positive and positive. So negative is positive. I get 1 negative, and I get 1 positive. So in between 1 and 4 is the only spot where it's negative. And remember, I'm looking for everything where it's negative because it was everything less than 0. So 1 and 4 is the between 1 and 4 is your answer. So anything between 1 and 4 will work. So there's your homework. I know it gets more confusing towards the end with the fractional ones. The quadratic inequalities are not difficult, but those fraction ones can be a little hard to see. You got to set up the tables in order to solve those. So if you have questions on those tables, try to give some more problems just like that.